happen for myself and my family. There's no way that this is real, man, it can't be.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Modify Your Life podcast, where I am your host, Anthony Lopez, also known as Heavy to Modified. And here on Modify Your Life, we talk about modifying our life mentally, physically, emotionally, and financially. And today I wanted to get into a solo podcast. Before I get on going to this, I want to say shout out to everyone that has been watching our podcast. I believe we have done over 50 episodes. And you know, a lot of people are like, well, why didn't you highlight it? It sounds like my friends and family. Why don't you highlight it or talk about it, stuff like that? We're not done growing. You know what I mean? I'm not done. I don't feel like I gave it 100%. I feel like there's better I could do. I feel like there's better we could do as a team. And there's better and more value that I could bring to everyone that's listening and watching. But the cool thing about this is that as everyone continues to keep listening and watching and getting value from this, and when I see the comments and I see my clients texting me like, yo, I love that episode, friends and family texting me that they love the episode and they saved it and X, Y, and Z shared it. As we keep on getting that, as we keep on growing and getting better, and I keep on getting more knowledge, as life keeps on punching me in my face and I keep overcoming these battles, is that you're going to watch it grow, right? And a whole reason why we came up with Modify Your Life podcast, because we don't want you to just watch us grow. I want you to grow with us, right? I want you to understand that everything that we're talking about, you could take something from it and you could implement it in your life, right? Which led into this solo podcast today. So obviously, being an online coach, the conversations I have with my clients, the reason why I don't post my one-on-one Zoom calls is because it's between us. And at the end of the day, not everything needs to be shown, not everything needs to be talked about unless they feel comfortable. But at the end of the day, that's a one-on-one Zoom call. It's about their personal life. But I do get these ideas and conversations and topics from a lot of my clients, because what it does is, as I'm talking to them as their weight loss coach, as their life coach, is that it brings you back to my old version of myself. And I seen a quote. I can't remember who wrote it. I texted a Francine the other day. I said, you are most qualified to help the person you used to be. And I knew that this was 100% real, because what I do in life and what I do as a coach is I help people that are in predicaments that I was once in. And the only way that I am allowed to help these people from all over walks of life, from all different shapes and sizes and ethnicities, is because I've been through a lot of these situations. And I'm 33 and I'm not done going through these situations. So imagine being a life coach at the age of 40 and 50. You know what I mean? How much more I'm going to learn with life, how much more I'm going to mature, and how much more I'm going to go through and overcome, and what I'm going to achieve, right? And the reason why I want to get into sharing this is that I want you to understand that life is never done teaching you anything. You are always learning. You are your own life coach. If you don't have the money to afford life coaching or a weight loss coach or a personal trainer, become your own life coach. Become your own personal trainer. Become your own motivator, right? But getting into this conversation I was having with one of my clients was just absolutely it brought so much emotion back, right? And it's understanding that because we are on a journey, and I'm not going to just only focus on weight loss. I'm just going to say journey does not mean life will not slow down. It does not mean our past will not come back to haunt us, right? But what we need to do is we need to stop letting our old version of ourselves win. And what a picture I want to paint about that is that all the decisions that you've made that's led you up to right now has been the old version of yourself, has been the person that gets a little bit of pushback, starts doing something, starts feeling good, and then one little thing, right? One little freaking crumb falls on the ground and your life's over. Everything starts to end. Your weight loss journey goes out the window. You're saving money for a new car goes out the window. You focusing on, getting a six-pack goes out the window. You focusing on passing your classes goes out the window. You focusing on going back to school goes out the window. And everything that I just said right now is all just a cop-out, because what your old version of yourself does, and I'm talking to you right now because you are working on yourself. You're listening to this podcast. You're going to take something for this. So now officially your old version of yourself as of yesterday is no longer. And this is something that I've learned about myself. It is okay to have an old version of yourself. It is okay to listen to these conversations, these stories in my thought process and not quite understand yet. Because at one point in my life, I was listening to people talk, didn't quite understand that thought process because I didn't put in the work yet, right? So when I'm talking to you and I'm talking about the old version of yourself, there's nothing wrong with that, right? But we got to stop letting that old version of ourselves win. Because at the end of the day, the reason why we are in this predicament and the reason why we're focusing on change our life around is because we fall victim to our excuses. We fall victim to life punching us around. We get a little bit of pushback and then we run from situations, right? You're in the middle of a weight loss journey. You just lost 20 pounds. Everything's going good. And boom, you just lost your job. Okay, That is a horrible situation. That's a lot of stress on your shoulders. Lord, God forbid you have kids and a wife that stays at home and everything like that. Okay, that is 100% stressful. That is a normal emotion to have, to be stressed and to be under pressure. It is okay to be scared. But what it's not okay, and what the old version of ourselves does, is that we drop everything. We completely stop doing all the things that we were doing that got us to lose 20 pounds. They got us to make an extra $10,000 a year. They got us to buy that new car. They got us in the new size pants, right? They got us to look in the mirror and be comfortable for a second, understanding you are a person that is in the process of becoming better, right? Because we get a little bit of pushback, we drop all that. And I just wanted to share this with you, is that is 100% a cop-out. Life is not going to slow down. Your old mistakes are not going to stop coming back because you're doing good today, because you've done good for 2 weeks, or because you've done good for 6 months. And what we need to understand is, when we let that old version of ourselves talk to us and we let that old version of ourselves win, we are setting ourselves back. We are making ourselves look worse. And I want to paint a picture like this. When in October of last year, I did my first bodybuilding show, right? And about 2.5 months before then, I got a phone call from my grandmother. My father passed away. And it was very hard to take in. I was very upset. I was very sad. A lot of emotions are going through my head at this moment, right? And as everything's going on and talking to my grandma, she's crying. And I'm also, starting to get teary-eyed. I wasn't that close with my dad, but he was my dad at the end of the day. And the fact that someone took his life for now what I found out to be pure ignorance. I don't think there's ever a good idea to ever take anyone's life, honestly. But, when I heard this whole story, I was like, wow, this is no one, this is horrible. It was just horrible. It wasn't even what I expected. I don't know what I did expect, honestly, but it was just pure stupidity, right? And as I'm getting everything together, and I start freaking out, and guess what I do? I start moving off of impulse, right? Everything's on impulse. And by impulse, I mean that I'm over here, we got to go. Forgetting that I have a whole bunch of group Zoom calls the next day, forgetting that I have to pack stuff, forgetting that I have supplements I need to take, forgetting that I have so many things that I have to get together, right? But so impulsively, I was ready to go. I forgot about everything. Everything. Didn't care about anything. Anthony Lopez needs to get out of here down to California, 3-hour, 20-minute drive, because I got to get to my grandma, because we've had some life-changing information, right? Impulse, right? Remember that word, impulsive. And so as I'm getting everything, I'm freaking out, everything. Francie's like, hey, relax. We have a lot of things we have to prepare, because we don't know how long we're going to be down there for. And I'm so glad this happened, because we were down there for a month, right? And so as I go and I'm starting to get everything situated, I am kind of taking a deep breath, and my first thought in my head was like, a month, like I have a bodybuilding show in 2 months, like I'm not gonna be able to do it. I'm not gonna be able to get this done X, Y, and Z, right? And I didn't say anything to Francine, but in my head, like impulsively thinking that everything's gonna suck. I wasn't gonna take my meals with me. I wasn't gonna take anything. I wasn't gonna take my supplements, everything impulsive, right? Going back to the old version of myself, old version of Anthony Lopez, right? Yes, one could say this is, okay, Anthony, like that's a pretty serious, situation you're going through, man. I would understand it. I expect it. Exactly. Someone would normally expect that, but that is what an average person would do. The new version of Anthony Lopez is not average. The new version of yourself is not average. So that's not what you expect. That's what your old version of yourself would do. But the new version of yourself will understand and adapt. So as I'm getting everything prepared, I take a deep breath. I message my clients. I let them know I trauma dumped on them. I felt so bad, but I have to be honest with them, because I don't take time off. And if it's time off, they have to know it's serious. Didn't tell them the full situation, but I told them, what they needed to know. And as we're driving, now we're packed up in the car, we're in there, and I'm talking to Francine. I look at her and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this bodybuilding show. Don't let me even talk about quitting. This is my opportunity to show that it's not the situation, it's how you handle it. And now this situation was completely out of my hands. I could not control the situation. The situation was done. The damage was done. The emotions are there. The heart rate was up. I'm trying not to drive fast, but nothing's more painful than hearing your grandma of 70 plus years old crying that she just lost her son. And there's a cry that is not even, I hope no one has to hear that cry, but it is a painful cry. It's a hurtful cry. You just, you ever hear someone sing a song and you hear the pain in their voice? That is the sound that I heard on the side of the phone. And when you hear your grandparents or anyone like that in your family you love, you hold close to your heart, you will do anything to get over to them. And I'm rushing over there and I'm talking to Francine. I was like, God, do not let me quit. This is my time. This is, for some reason, the man up above said, this is what you're going to go through. This is part of your story. And an old version of myself would have folded like a freaking lawn chair. The new version of myself understood that it's not the situation, it's how I handle the situation. And the old version of myself would have used this as a great, amazing excuse to go on social media and give amazing sob story and sad story why I'm going to quit. And everyone would have been so understanding. Everyone would have accepted that and sent their condolences and said, I'm sorry you're going through your loss. And I'm sorry that you're going through this. And I hope they find whoever did it and take your time off. Don't post on social media. Don't do this. But remember, that is what an average person would do. You are not average. In order for me to really dive deep and focus on the situation, I could not let what I'm going through, the situation at hand that I cannot control, affect what's going to happen in the next 2 months, 6 months, to a year, like I did when my grandpa was sick. I let that control my life. I use that as an excuse to overeat and indulge and to be depressed and be miserable. It's not the situation, it's how you handle it. Now, at the end of the day, regardless of what happened when I got over to my grandma's house, that was going to happen no matter what. The story was still going to be there. The things that we had to do in order to get prepared for funeral and everything like that still was going to happen. Now, what I did have control over is how I handled that situation. If I was going to get on stage, and I was going to get on stage, I was not going to let myself quit. That's what I couldn't control. But how many of us out there focus on the things that you cannot control? How many of you let your old version of yourself kind of take over and win because there's, oh my gosh, my kid's being bad in school, and I got a flat tire, so I can't start a business right now. You're waiting for that perfect day and that perfect month. Think about it. When have you ever had a perfect month of nothing happening, no stress, no work stress, no relationship stress, no drama? You're never going to have a perfect month. So why are you looking for that for your journey? Because you're never going to get it. And when are you going to look in the mirror and realize that you've just been lying to yourself because you really don't want to do it right now? You're looking for the perfect moment, but the perfect moment is never going to come. So therefore, if the perfect moment never comes, are you never going to take yourself serious? Are you never going to continue to keep pushing towards your goals to be better, to work to be the next version of yourself? You have an opportunity to become a badass in every bad situation. Every single bad situation that you've been through, you've had a lesson to learn. Maybe you didn't see it because maybe you didn't want to see it. Maybe you didn't see it because you chose it was easier to just take it as a negative situation, run away from all your other problems, put everything aside until that situation was over. But then when that situation's over and you're supposed to have a second to breathe, you have your weight gain, you have your financial struggles, you have everything else to look. Now you have to everything else to look at because you didn't pay attention to those things while you're going through this one situation. So when a time where now that everything is past, right? It's been couple months already since I've lost my father. Been going back and forth to court since the first month it's happened, honestly. I am sitting here preaching to you this story because I've made it. I've got to learn a lesson and I've got to win. I didn't talk about this stuff a lot when I was going through it because I personally feel that you are not allowed to teach anyone anything until you've overcome the situation. To you have walked through that fire, to you have felt the pain and you felt the frustration, you felt wanting to quit, but you push it on top. Now I could teach something from it. When I was in the middle of the situation, I could have messed up any day. I could have gave up on myself any day. I could have not did the bodybuilding show. I could have handled things poorly. Who am I to talk about a situation until I've overcame it? And now I'm preaching this story to you because at the end of the day, when we focus on the situation that we can't control, you are never going to win. When you focus on the situation you cannot control, you are always going to use that as an excuse because it's so easy. It's much easier in life to focus on something you can't control because you know there's nothing you can do about it than look in the mirror and looking at everything you can control and understanding you have to create a game plan to win it and game plan to do it. And you have to hold yourself accountable to continue to keep on winning no matter what kind of outside noise, no matter what kind of bullshit you're going through. You have to understand that it is your obligation to tackle every single goal you set for yourself no matter what. And the reason why I became a life coach and not a therapist, we'll talk about the extra 5 years of schooling I have to do, is because a therapist is going to focus on your childhood up until this day, your past until present. And I'm not saying that it's not important to me, but you or myself or no one else on this planet can change anything that you've been through as a child, anything you've been through as a teen, as an adult, nothing of that. But what you can do, and what I love about life coaching and what I love about looking at you moving forward, is that you could change your direction of where you're moving to. You could change how you look at that situation that you went through. You could change not how you handled it, but how you handle it moving forward. Old version of yourself sits back and feels sorry for everything that you've been through. The new version of yourself needs to look at everything you've been through. What did you learn from it? What are you going to do to never let it happen again? How are you going to execute it? How are you going to become better? That's what you need to focus on. Now, if you're going through financial situations, okay, you're already here. So you can't go to the gym. You can't meal prep. You can't be a better person. You can't wake up and do mobility. You can't go for a walk every single day. Don't those just sound like excuses now that you hear someone else speaking it? All right, you're busy. You have 2 jobs. You're a single parent. Okay, do you not have an extra 10, 15 minutes to go for a walk, take your kids with you, take your kids to the park, do some type of extra activity? Tell me you don't. Check your screen. Check how much you're on your phone a day. I guarantee there's an hour or 2 on that bad boy. I guarantee that. What we do is we take these situations and we focus on what we cannot complete, we focus on what we cannot change, and we use that excuse to stay average. And at the end of the day, the person that's listening to this right now, you are not average. But what you're doing is you're making moves of an average person. But the best thing about life, the best thing about understanding that you're constantly working and evolving on yourself is that you do not have to wake up tomorrow average. Tomorrow, you're going to wake up better. Tomorrow, you're going to have a game plan of how you're going to win the day, not the year, not the month. Let's focus on winning the day. And when you focus on winning the day, you're going to focus on winning the month. If you focus on winning the month, you focus on winning the year. That is something that Andy talks about a lot. I never want to take anyone else's speeches and stuff like that. I got that from Andy, but it's so true. Everyone is so focused on how they're going to win the year when you can't even win the day. You're so focused on all those things that are going on right now, but you're not focused on how building a game plan of how you're going to get out of it. You need to adapt to the situations that you're going to. You need to build a game plan of how you're going to win the day. You need to build a game plan of how you're going to be successful, and you have to stop running away from the problems that are at hand. It's time for you to face these bad boys. It's time for you to put in the work to make that version of yourself that you've dreamed of since you were a kid. We need to stop letting the old version of ourselves win, and we need to make room for the new version of ourselves, and the new version of ourselves, and the new version of ourselves. By us choosing to pick a situation, harping over it, feeling sad over it, feeling depressed over it, letting it take over our day, letting it take over our week, letting it take over a month, you are not doing anything but holding yourself back from becoming better. And that right there is the craziest thing you could do, because I am no different. Anyone that you follow on social media is no different. Any guru you love is no different. No, none one is no different than you. The only thing is different between people that are starting to put in the work, or put in the work, or have successfully won, is that they started, they stayed consistent, they built discipline, and they held themselves accountable to get out there and win. And you are no different than them. No one no one is born successful. No one is born with discipline. No one is born with accountability. No one is born with any of these things to be successful. What it is worked on. You're listening to someone that was over 600 pounds, depressed, suicidal, had no discipline, no accountability, and I've now built that into my life. I built these habits that I have today. I built the way I speak. You should hear me speak on just my old YouTube videos before. I spoke so sloppy and so didn't have any, no bass in my voice when it came to, because I didn't take myself seriously. I wasn't born with confidence. I wasn't born, technically everyone's born skinny. Well, I wasn't born with knowledge of nutrition. I wasn't born with knowledge of how to run a business. I wasn't born with knowledge of doing my taxes. I wasn't born with the knowledge of what portion control is. But when I started taking myself serious and learning this stuff, I became my own life coach. I became my own personal trainer. I became my own motivator. I became my number one fan. My life started to change. And I'll tell you right now, the version of myself, what I'm doing now, the smiles on my face, the activities that I get to do, I'm not living with a mask anymore. These are not fake smiles. These are not fake conversation. I believe in everything that I say. I stand on everything that I say because I got out there. I've created a game plan. I'm worked on myself every single day. I'm still working on myself every single day. But as I started to work on myself, I built that self-confidence in myself because I started seeing change in my life. And the only reason why I started seeing the change in my life is because I started to change my life. Stop letting the old version of yourself win. Stop falling victim to your excuses. What's done is done. What are you going to do today moving forward? Are you going to make the same decisions you made every single year and be in the same negative position that you're in every single year? Are you going to look at yourself in the mirror, figure out the things that you need to start mastering, and get out there and start winning? Now, that choice is 100% yours. Choose correctly.